In the 3rd year of being Ethan Blackwood's mistress, his first love has returned. I know what I should do, pack my bags and leave decisively. I didn't expect her to find out about me and insist that Ethan hand me over to her. I looked at Ethan pleadingly, but he coldly told Isabella Montgomery that since she upset her, she could deal with it as she wished. To escape Isabella's torment, I faked my death by jumping into the river. Later, I heard that for some reason, that big shot in New York City suddenly sent people to drain all the rivers in the city. I got out of Ethan's bed, still feeling the warmth he left behind. As he got dressed, he told me that Isabella would be back at the end of the month and that I should move out by then. He said it so casually, but those words pierced my heart. I know my place, so I immediately agreed. After Ethan left, I started packing my things and looking for a place to stay. In these 3 years of following Ethan, wherever he went, I went too. I never had my own home. To say I'm not sad at all would be a lie. 3 years have passed, and I've almost forgotten that I was the one he signed a contract to keep by his side. On the day I packed my things to leave, Ethan happened to be at home. I said a brief goodbye to him and turned to leave. He was still the same, just responding lightly. It wasn't until I reached the door that he calmly said, "If you encounter trouble in the future, you can come to me." I felt a warmth in my heart, just wanting to turn back and thank him for helping me before. He then said, "It's better not to contact me. Isabella would be unhappy if she found out." I turned halfway around, suppressing the discomfort in my heart, and said, "Okay." That night, lying in the newly rented apartment, I couldn't sleep soundly no matter what. Usually, Ethan was by my side, and I couldn't help but reach out to rest my hand on his chest. My hand would rise and then fall heavily. The bed was empty except for me. I desperately tried to make myself fall asleep, but I became more and more awake. Calculating the time, he should have already picked up Isabella by now. Maybe this uncomfortable feeling didn't last long on his newly changed bed, because Ethan contacted me soon after. Seeing his call, I was so excited that I fumbled and trembled as I pressed the answer button. "Ethan, are you looking for me? You should come over." I returned to the house on Montgomery Road and saw Ethan's car parked at the door from a distance. I knocked on the car window, and Ethan let me in. He immediately asked me why I didn't clean the room before leaving. I felt a pang in my heart and quickly explained that I had checked each room carefully and took all my things, which weren't many. "The bed in the bedroom has been changed to a new one as you said, and I watched the cleaning lady while she was cleaning, so it should be fine." Ethan fell silent for a moment and said, "There's a hair of yours in the corner under the bedroom window." Isabella kept asking whose it was, saying she needed to send it to a testing agency to find out, insisting on discovering the owner. She was very upset. "Let me take you to see her. You just say it was from the cleaning staff." Ethan turned his head and gave a signal to the door. The cleaning lady handed me a uniform. After changing into the clothes, he said to come with him to explain the situation. I held back my tears, not letting them fall. The bedroom on the 2nd floor looked just as I remembered, with a girl sitting by the bed, both familiar and unfamiliar. Familiar because I often saw her photos in Ethan's bedroom, living room, and office. This was my first time seeing Isabella in person, and I wasn't familiar with her. She does resemble me to some extent, especially in the eyes. But she is bright and charming, like a rose with thorns. I feel like a blade of grass that can be trampled underfoot. "Ethan, who is she?" Isabella leaned against Ethan and asked me, pointing at the one with a janitor hairstyle and uniform. "A janitor." "Ethan, doesn't she look a bit like me?" "Ethan, what do you think?" "No one can compare to you." I stood in front of them, listening to those sweet words, just hoping this ordeal would end soon. Ethan said he felt a connection with her. Why not let her follow me and be my personal caretaker? I felt a tightness in my chest and unconsciously looked at Ethan for help. He kept staring at Isabella and only glanced at me with the corner of his eye. "She is a bit careless and tends to shed hair while cleaning." "Forget it, I'm worried she might upset you." "No, I want her." Isabella spoke like a child being spoiled. "I can find you 2 more suitable ones that you'll like better." "Ethan, can you really bear to part with her?" Isabella sounds very wronged. Ethan immediately agreed and said, "Okay, if she likes it so much, give it to her." He looked up at my panicked face and said seriously, "Isabella likes you, it's your luck. You should treat her well." I was so surprised that I couldn't say a word, and was about to refuse. Ethan interjected, "Olivia, I remember your contract is for 5 years, and it's not expired yet, right? I was suddenly left speechless. My name is Olivia Bennett, and I am an orphan. To be precise, I became an orphan 3 years ago. At that time, my parents were completely crushed by fierce business competition. We sold everything valuable in the house, yet still couldn't pay off the debts. At that time, my dad had some leverage over the other party and was always out trying to find a way. Unfortunately, he got into a car accident. Both my dad and mom died in that car accident. I was extremely sad, focused on finishing what my dad couldn't complete. I took the evidence my dad left behind and sought help everywhere, but I didn't know what to do. It was useless to beg anyone, no one would pay attention no matter where I went. That's when I met Ethan. Thinking about helping my parents seek justice made me extremely emotional. If my parents hadn't been deceived, if they didn't have to run around everywhere, they wouldn't have had the accident, and they wouldn't have left me. Ethan quietly asked me at that time, "Why should I help you?" I was so anxious and flustered that I wished I had 10 mouths to explain. "I will give you all the money I recover, I swear. I can bet my whole self on you." Ethan looked at me in a flurry, stared into my eyes, and suddenly smiled. "I can sign an agreement and write a guarantee letter. I will bet the best 5 years of my youth on you. I am willing to do anything you ask me to." "I can do anything." Ethan didn't say anything, just stared at me with a dazed look. But he quickly began to take action. This commercial competition exposed many dark matters, even my parents' accident was involved. On the day the case was concluded, I knelt before my parents' grave and burned the judgment page by page for them to see. The bad guys were all caught. I went to find Ethan and handed him the agreement I had already signed. I voluntarily committed to him for 5 years. As long as it's not illegal, I am willing to do anything. That day, Ethan's gaze seemed a bit gentle, but it quickly returned to clarity. In the end, he simply said, "Pack your things and move over tomorrow. I'll send a driver to pick you up." Since we had signed the agreement previously, I called Isabella. "Actually, I don't need to worry too much about her. Ethan bought her so many high-end clothes that she can't wear them all. Ethan even said directly that she only needs to wear each outfit once. If she really likes a piece of clothing, she just buys 10 of the same. So she never does laundry. Cleaning is handled by a dedicated person, and there are 5 chefs who prepare different dishes every day. I also don't know how to take care of her. She hopes I will always be by her side, sharing stories about Ethan from these past few years. I don't know much about Ethan's romantic situation, but he truly loves Isabella." Isabella blinked her bright eyes and asked, "Really? Then tell me, how does Ethan love me?" I pushed down the uncomfortable feelings inside and reminded myself not to overstep our boundaries. The Montgomery Road we live on was named after Ethan's achievements from a few years ago. As a result, he immediately changed the street name using your name. Over the years, I've never seen Ethan with a female companion. To be honest, after spending so much time with him, I've really never seen him bring any woman around. Ethan is handsome and has a remarkable presence. He is exactly my type. Many women have had feelings for him over the years, but his serious expression scared them away. He used to be cold to other women, but he was different with me. Now he is only gentle and considerate towards his beloved Isabella. Isabella is very pleased with my response. Ethan came back to have dinner with Isabella. I stood by and watched. There were 6 dishes and a soup on the table. Ethan glanced at the food and turned to Chef Nathan, asking if Isabella didn't like chives. "Didn't he say to make fewer chives?" "I really like chives." Isabella turned to Ethan and said, "I even specifically asked them to add more chives for dinner." The room suddenly fell silent. Nathan looked at Ethan, then at me, and didn't know what to say. "Everyone loves chives, right?" "Ethan, I remember you like chives too," Isabella continued to ask. Ethan was taken aback and after a moment said, "I'm sorry, Isabella, I got it wrong." I was a bit touched. It turns out I'm the one who doesn't like eating chives. My stomach isn't good, and I'm quite picky about food. I always eat too much and can't digest it, and I end up throwing up. To accommodate my dietary habits, Ethan specifically hired 5 chefs. He said he couldn't let others see me so frail, or they would think he was mistreating me. Isabella nodded at Ethan with a half smile. "The chefs and cleaning ladies' rooms are on the 1st floor, and my luggage is also on the 1st floor." But that night, Isabella suddenly called out to me, "Olivia, your bedroom is on the 2nd floor." I was startled. There was only one empty room on the 2nd floor, right next to Ethan's bedroom. I looked at Isabella in confusion. Everyone was staying on the 1st floor, and I could too. "But you're my personal nanny." If you stay on the second floor, it will be more convenient for me to call you at night if I need something. I wasn't very willing. I didn't want to be neighbors with them, and I can't stand hearing any noises in the middle of the night. I wanted to decline, and Isabella smiled and asked Ethan, "What do you think?" Ethan remained calm and said, "You decide where she stays, as long as you're happy." I had no choice but to grab my luggage and head to the second floor. Isabella was especially lively in front of Ethan. They practiced yoga for a while and then exercised on the treadmill. I was busy going downstairs to get water and prepare the fruits. The last time I went upstairs, as soon as I entered the living room, I saw Isabella sitting on Ethan's lap, laughing and holding his neck. I stood at the door with the cut mango, caught in a dilemma. My heart felt as if it had been stabbed. It hurt so much. Isabella turned her head and saw me, smiling and calling out, "Olivia, hurry and bring in the fruit." Ethan said he wanted to eat fruit, but he never eats mangoes. In the past, when I cut mangoes for him, he would always turn his head away, saying he didn't like the taste that was neither sour nor sweet. One time, I insisted he try a mango, and he very seriously said, "Your mouth is full of mango flavor. Every time I kiss you, it's like eating a mango." I was still holding the fork with the mango in front of him when he gently took it back to the fruit plate, wrapped his arms around my waist, and leaned in slowly, saying he wanted to taste what today's mango was like. Thinking back on it now, my eyes are a bit red. Isabella smiled at me. "Olivia, you wouldn't be rushing to find someone just because you see how close I am with Ethan, would you?" I quickly shook my head. "Don't be shy. Let me tell you, Olivia, after dinner, I specifically asked Nathan who in the house, the chef or the maid, doesn't like eating leeks. He said it's just you who doesn't like them. I think Nathan really cares about you, Olivia. How about I set you two up and see how it goes? Our maid and chef are truly a match made in heaven." Isabella was so excited that she was practically dancing, looking forward to me and Nathan getting our marriage license right away. I calmly declined, thanked Isabella for her kindness, but I am already engaged. I have a fiancé. Being engaged doesn't mean much until you're married. If you're worried about returning the betrothal gifts later, I can ask Ethan to help you out. Don't worry. Thanks for the suggestion, Isabella, but really, it's not necessary. Don't mention it. I think you two are quite suitable for each other. Give Nathan a chance to get close. Someone who remembers what you don't like to eat definitely cares about you. You agree, right, Ethan? Ethan looked uncomfortable and didn't say a word. I shook my head, indicating my disagreement. Isabella's face looked bad as she said to Olivia, "Are you really not going to give me any face?" The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Ethan stepped in to ease the tension. "Isabella, just let it go. She already said she has a fiancé. Why force her?" Isabella stood up abruptly, emotionally saying, "Ethan, when did I ever force her? What does forcing mean? When my dad forced me to break up with you, threatening to ruin your budding career, that was forcing. I chose to leave for you, but my dad had someone take me abroad by force. Isn't that forcing? When I was abroad, I thought about you every day, Ethan, and now I'm finally back. Do you know how many difficult days I went through for you? How can you say that about me?" Isabella was trembling all over, tears streaming down her face. Ethan stepped forward and embraced her tightly. Olivia turned her head and said to me seriously, "From now on, do whatever Isabella tells you to do. It's just to let you and Nathan try to get along. It won't cost you anything." That night, Ethan rushed out and came back completely drunk. I heard rustling sounds coming from next door, and I covered my ears, trying to pretend I didn't hear it. But Isabella kept calling me, again and again, "Olivia, Olivia, come here." I quickly got dressed and walked over. Isabella peeked her head out of the bedroom, her face a bit flushed. She said, "Olivia, Ethan has been bothering me for a while, and I'm not feeling well. Can you help me adjust the water temperature for my bath? I want to take a bath." Isabella went in to take a bath, and I sat outside the bathroom door in a daze. She said he annoys her all the time, but Ethan can't do anything when he's drunk. He rarely gets drunk because when he does, he gets a headache that keeps him awake. I accompanied him to see the doctor several times, and the doctor said he just needs to drink less. He has a headache and can't sleep, so I rested his head on my lap and slowly helped him massage it. Later, he was directly given medication for his headache. This medication can help with sleep, allowing one to fall asleep quickly. I was daydreaming when Isabella called me, "Olivia, go to the bedroom and get me a set of clean underwear. At 2 in the morning, I walked into Ethan's room again. He was sound asleep, and I noticed that the headache medication and the cup of water on his bedside were open. Isabella is lying. But why would she lie to a nanny? She is the most important person in his heart. He listens to everything she says, and to please her, he even arranged for me to spend time with the chef. I know she stays up at night to deliberately make things difficult for me, but doesn't she get tired of this? I sighed and quietly walked over to Ethan, tucking him in. He seemed to be talking in his sleep, mumbling something. I leaned in to listen, and he was softly calling out Olivia's name. Olivia? Who is Olivia? Is he talking about me? But he has never called me that. He always calls me Olivia. I didn't have time to think much. Isabella was shouting for me, Olivia, hurry up. I quickly grabbed some clothes and went out to hand them to her, helping her dry off and blow dry her hair. At 3:30 in the morning, Isabella finally fell asleep. I was exhausted, yet I couldn't fall asleep no matter how much I tossed and turned. I kept telling myself, Olivia, just consider it repaying her kindness. Isabella has been in a good mood lately and has been making apple juice. She said she discovered that Ethan doesn't like fruits, but he has a slight interest in apples. Since Ethan likes apples, she decided to make more apple juice for him. I wanted to say he never likes drinking juice, you might as well give him a fresh apple. But I didn't say anything. She handed me a glass of thick apple juice and said, Olivia, give it a try. The juice tasted very strong, but as soon as I finished it, I felt dizzy. It felt like how Ethan looked after taking painkillers. Isabella walked up to me and asked, Olivia, are you okay? Are you all right? It was only before I passed out that I realized there was a reason she gave me apple juice. Otherwise, the color of the pills wouldn't have been hidden. I woke up again in my own bedroom, startled by Isabella's scream. Nathan, who was also naked, woke up at the same time as me. However, he woke up a bit later than I did, and I quickly pulled the blanket over myself. Nathan looked even more confused than I was, squinting his eyes with a blank expression. How did I end up here? Outside the door, Isabella's cheerful laughter could be heard. Ethan, I didn't expect them to progress this quickly. Looks like I've helped out again. Don't go in there now. They haven't gotten dressed yet. These two are my buddies. They better thank us when they have their wedding in the future. Ethan had been silent all this time. Nathan woke up, quickly got out of bed, and said to Olivia, Olivia, I'm really sorry. I have no idea what happened or how I ended up here. I'm really sorry. Before he could finish speaking, Ethan suddenly pushed the door open and yanked him out. I curled up in the blanket, unable to stop the tears from flowing. I desperately tried to calm myself down, but my body kept shaking uncontrollably. The moat is right outside the window. I got dressed and climbed out through the window. I stood by the riverbank, staring at the rushing water, and without much hesitation, I jumped in. Now, everything I owed you is paid back. 3 months have passed. After resting at Nathan Anderson's home for so long, I feel much better. During these months, I hardly went out and just listened to the aunties at home chat every day. I heard that the big shot in New York, Ethan Blackwood, has been acting strangely lately. It seems his wife has gone missing after jumping into the river, and they still haven't found her. He ordered the entire city's river water to be drained. The river water in New York has been drained for 2 whole months and is almost gone. Oh no! If this continues, he will come to Chicago to drain our rivers. When Nathan came in, I was lying on the sofa, half listening to the aunties chatting quietly. He glanced at me and sent the chatting aunties out. He walked over and sat down next to me, gently stroking my head, saying, Olivia, what are you thinking about? I feel like you've been cooped up at home for these past few months, and you've become a bit dazed. I didn't lie to him. I really was engaged to someone. Although our engagement was arranged before we were even born. My family and Nathan's family have known each other for generations. Our parents arranged our engagement while we were still in our mother's wombs. However, if we're talking about engagement, we are more like unfortunate partners. When something happened to my family, Nathan's family also suffered. I stayed in the country trying to seek justice, while Nathan went abroad to find witnesses and evidence, and I didn't hear from him for a long time. During that time, I thought he was in trouble. Later, the issues at home were resolved by Ethan, and I lost contact with Nathan. Little sister, you're almost recovered, right? Brother will take you out to relax tonight, okay? I nodded and agreed. In the bar with flashing lights, various colors of light intertwined, it was my first time seeing such a scene. Nathan greeted us warmly, and my sister rarely goes out, so it was a rare chance for her to have fun today. Whoever can make my sister happy, I promised to reward them well. Immediately, 5 or 6 young and handsome guys surrounded me, all of them fit and exceptionally good-looking. One face looked very familiar, with thick brows and big eyes, a deep gaze, just my type. I waved for him to come closer, and he squeezed in next to me, smiling and greeting, "Hello, sister. My name is Lucas." I held up my glass and said, "Sister, you probably don't drink much, do you? How about you help me finish this drink?" "No problem, it's my honor to help you, sister." Nathan's youthful face radiated a glow, making me unconsciously want to get closer to him. I stood close to him, and even the air was filled with a familiar scent. Suddenly, someone rushed in a panic and whispered something in Nathan's ear. Nathan's expression changed, his voice tense. "Olivia, let's go. Ethan, that annoying guy, is here. Hurry! Come with me." "It's too late," Ethan burst in like the wind. A group of people in black followed behind, and the private room was quickly cleared out. Nathan leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Olivia, don't be afraid. Your brother will protect you no matter what." Long time no see, Ethan looks like he's aged 10 years. His once handsome face is now wrinkled. "Olivia, I finally found you. I'm really worried about you." I tried to sound calm like he used to, saying, "Ethan, you see, I'm fine. You should go back." Ethan paused for a moment. "Olivia," I was still holding Lucas's hand. The other boys in the room had all run away, and only Lucas sat beside me, looking quite interested. Ethan looked at me anxiously, and only then did he notice Lucas. His expression shifted from anxious to indifferent. "You should leave." Lucas leaned closer and said sweetly, "Sister, this brother is so fierce, I'm so scared." Since Ethan walked in, I haven't really looked at him properly. In fact, I had imagined many times what I would say if we met again. I always thought I couldn't let him go. I truly loved him deeply over the years. Even if he only has Isabella in his heart, I can understand him, and I actually love him more for being so sentimental. But ever since the day I jumped into the river, the old Olivia has already disappeared. Now that we've met, you should leave. From now on, we are clear with each other. Ethan's bodyguard tried to pull Lucas away, but Lucas held onto my hand tightly and shouted, "Sister, help me." I withdrew my hand and said to him, "Don't be afraid, no one will harm you. Just go outside first." My sister said she would go out in a moment. Ethan's face turned grim. The room was silent. Nathan stood behind me like a quiet lion. "Olivia, you know the effects of that drug. Nothing happened that day. Olivia, come home with me." My eyes felt a bit sore, but I held back. "So you think that by believing nothing happened, everything can be considered non-existent?" Being drugged, having my clothes stripped off, lying in bed with a man. To Ethan, apparently, none of this mattered. For so long, this is the first time I've brought this up. Nathan stood beside me, fists clenched tightly, looking at me with concern. He never really understood what had happened to me, but he never pressed me for details. Ethan remained silent. Nathan spoke first. "Ethan, I want to take my sister home. Please step aside." No one moved. 20 bodyguards blocked the door. Nathan continued, "Ethan, even if I can't fight all of you alone, but I will never stand by and watch my sister being bullied." Ethan ignored Nathan, seemingly having made a big decision. He stared at me for a long time before finally saying, "Olivia, is that agreement still valid?" After saying that, he kept looking at me. "That agreement was something I willingly wrote. I'm not foolish, I know whether the agreement has legal effect, but I just want to follow the agreement so I can find an excuse to stay by his side. The heart can blind one's eyes, making one willingly indulge. Willingly being a personal caretaker for the person he likes, just to be able to see him a little longer." I stood up and said, "Excuse me, I need to go back." Then I pushed past Ethan, and the bodyguards behind him stepped aside voluntarily. They all recognized me, as I was the only one who had been by Ethan's side all these years. I almost thought I really was his wife, his only love. Nathan chased after me. When leaving the nightclub, I saw Lucas squatting at the door, looking pitifully at me and saying, "Sister, can I stay over for the night? I was worried you would leave, and tonight I might get beaten." I didn't expect he was the big shot Ethan Blackwood from New York. I'm in trouble now. I glanced back, and Ethan didn't follow. I nodded and said, "Okay." Our group is quite noticeable. I walked in front, with Nathan and Lucas behind me. After passing the intersection, Ethan caught up, and he was followed by many people in black clothing. When I got home, Ethan caught up to me and blocked my way. Olivia, what can I do for you to forgive me? Actually, I don't hate him. He helped me during my toughest times. These years by his side, I've actually felt quite secure. I loved him and he hurt me deeply. Later, I told him to his face, I don't hate you. It's just that I no longer love you, that's all. The moonlight tonight is particularly bright, shining on Ethan's face, making him look unusually pale. Isabella is still so annoying. She chased me down to Chicago to meet me at a coffee shop. I sat across from her impatiently, listening to her meaningless bragging. Olivia, I'm here to tell you the truth. Ethan has been coming to find you, but it's actually for me. You don't really think he has feelings for you, do you? He came to find you just because he was afraid you'd blame me for getting hurt. He came to placate you. I've had enough of Isabella. I'm here specifically to teach her a lesson. I grabbed the coffee on the table and poured it directly over her head. The cup of boiling hot water splashed all over her face. At that moment, I suddenly felt it wasn't enough to vent my anger. Isabella screamed and stood up in a panic, her beautifully made-up face turning bright red. This beautiful face is about to be ruined soon. I looked at her and calmly sat back down in my chair. People nearby were all looking over here, constantly glancing this way. Oh my God, my face. Olivia is really going too far. Isabella cried out in a choked voice, I'm going to call the police. She hurriedly pulled out her phone, preparing to dial 911. I said slowly, go ahead and call the police. I just happen to have some surveillance footage I'd like the police to see, of how I was drugged and taken into the room. Isabella's hand froze in midair, forgetting even to make the call. Isabella, do you want to take a look at the surveillance footage? Don't you know? I'm the one who installed all the surveillance cameras at your crush's house, and I have all the passwords. Do you want to see how awful you look on the footage? Isabella suddenly stopped crying. She covered her face and sat back down, her face flushed red. You knew all along? Olivia, don't blame me. You just took advantage of my absence. Why should Ethan keep thinking about you? When Ethan cared about me the most, he knelt at my door all day, and I didn't even see him. I went abroad entirely for his future. All for him. He actually took advantage of my absence to be with another woman? She covered her face and cried softly. I really can't stand her pretending. She deceived others to the point where she even believes it herself. Really, Isabella? You said you went abroad for his career, but it was actually to meet the blind date your dad arranged, right? Later, your family fell on hard times, while Ethan's career thrived, and he became a prominent figure in New York. You gave your illegitimate child to someone else to raise, and now you want to get back together with him. Check the foreign websites, Isabella. The boyfriend you have abroad is of questionable character, and there are quite a few of your private videos online. Isabella stopped crying. Her once beautiful cheeks were covered with many red bumps and blotches, making her face look like a spoiled egg. What did you say? Later, Isabella completely disappeared. It said that Ethan arranged for her to go abroad and never let her appear in front of me again. He stayed in Chicago, saying that if I didn't come back, he would be happy to change cities and continue waiting here. For the past 3 years, I've followed him everywhere. Wherever he goes, I go. Recently, during the months I was missing, he said he regretted not spending more time with me before. Olivia, if there's another chance, I want to make it up to you properly. The things I once desperately wanted are now right in front of me, but I'm no longer interested. The gifts he gives me are becoming more childish. Sometimes it's a painting he made of our first meeting. Sometimes it's a paper craft he folded, with little notes stuffed inside. These things are boring, so I just threw them straight into the trash. He wasn't angry. He still spends a lot of time looking for me every day. To avoid him, I went to the park in the west of the city to clear my mind, and unexpectedly ran into Lucas. Big sister, that's great. I've been following you for so long. Finally, I get to see you alone. I don't know where he brought me. When he finally let me out of the sack, I found myself tied to a pole, unable to move. All around me were crumbling ruins. Big sister, I'm really sorry. You are quite innocent in this. Lucas's eyes were glistening with tears. But you know what, big sister? I do have an older sister. I grew up without parents. My sister raised me. But she passed away, leaving this world in New York. She heard that the city was draining river water and needed people for odd jobs, with decent pay. I'm about to take my college entrance exam. My sister took this job to help me gather tuition fees. After the river was drained, she stood by the boat. She accidentally lost her balance and fell off the boat. If there had still been water in the river, she wouldn't have died. She could swim, but there was no water in the river, and she fell headfirst into the dry mud, dying on the spot. The moisture in his eyes turned into tears, dropping one by one onto the ground. You have no idea, my sister is exceptionally beautiful. I felt a bit flustered, but pretended to be calm and told him, I know, I've seen her photo. Lucas looked surprised and asked when I had seen her. The first time I saw you, Ethan happened to come looking for me. When you squeezed over, a photo from your work uniform accidentally fell out and Nathan stepped on it. At that time, I thought you stayed behind for that photo. Lucas stared at me in shock. I smiled helplessly, and looking back now, you didn't leave because you wanted to figure out what was going on between Ethan and me, right? He was strapped with explosives, which made me feel anxious. I urged him to calm down. If his sister were still here, she would definitely want him to live well. Tying me up is useless. Ethan might not even come. He will definitely come. He's already looking down like this. He will definitely come. Just as I was panicking, I suddenly heard a loud shout, Olivia, where are you? Lucas, let my sister go. If she loses a single hair, you won't get away with it. Nathan shouted angrily. He saw us and rushed over quickly. I was a bit anxious and hurried to leave. This is none of your business. Olivia, don't worry. We've been betrothed since childhood. I will definitely protect you. Otherwise, I won't have the face to see your parents in the future. Lucas, let my sister go. Come at me if you have the guts. Lucas was clearly flustered. Nathan's appearance disrupted his plans. He momentarily didn't know whether to start the countdown timer. He stepped back slowly while Nathan approached him recklessly. As the two were at a standstill, Ethan suddenly burst in. This time he didn't bring bodyguards with him. Olivia! Ethan's gaze was no longer calm. He fixed his eyes on Lucas and said emotionally, let her go. Come at me if you have the guts. At that moment, the target appeared, and Lucas immediately calmed down. He hurriedly pressed the timer, looked up and shouted, Sister, I brought him here to apologize to you. The countdown has begun, with 10 seconds remaining. Nathan was the first to regain his senses, rushing to me and trying to untie the ropes binding me to the pillar. Ethan also wanted to come over to help, but Lucas quickly held him back. Ethan turned around and threw Lucas to the ground, wanting to rush over to me immediately. But Lucas lay on the ground, still tightly holding on to him. He was still struggling, blood trickling from the corner of Lucas's mouth as he looked up at Ethan with a provocative smile. Brother, if you make a move, I'll run to hug sister, and none of us will have it easy. In the last 3 seconds, my ropes came loose. Ethan shouted to Nathan, quick, take Olivia and go. The explosion in Chicago made the news. The explosion was so loud that I couldn't hear anything for 2 days. The last time I saw Ethan, he barely lifted his head, covered in blood, and struggled to say something to me, but I couldn't hear it clearly at all. I stared blankly at him. Nathan looked at him, then at me, his face full of worry. It was silent all around. Was he speaking to me? His face, covered in blood and black soil, seemed full of anticipation. I remember those 3 years with Ethan. He came back to be with me almost every night. People around him would politely call me Olivia. No other woman had stayed by his side for so long and been so openly together with him. That day was particularly wonderful. I even felt that he had feelings for me. At night, I leaned on his shoulder and softly asked him, Ethan, do you love me? I wonder if the expression of longing I had back then was similar to the way he looks now. He expressionlessly pushed me away from his shoulder and said, mind your status. Since then, I never asked him that question again. I hadn't even processed what happened when the hand that had been holding mine suddenly let go. People around us panicked, and Nathan helped me leave. After a long time, long enough that no one mentioned the incident anymore, that once famous figure disappeared like a gust of wind. Nathan still stayed by my side. One day he asked me, do you want to know what Ethan said in the end? I shook my head. In fact, I could hear it at that time. I was just pretending not to. I didn't want to answer that question.